It seems these days it is all the rage in comic books to do something edgy, to do something crazy. One of those really edgy, crazy storylines that's absolutely been played out is Evil Superman. We've certainly seen Evil Superman over the ages. You know, most notably, you think about Red Sun, you think about Superman killing the Joker in Injustice, Gods Among Us. We could think about Superman becoming evil in Blackest Night, where he joined the Black Lantern Corps, obviously before he came back to help save the day for the good guys in that one. A lot of times in the past, turning Superman evil was always out of continuity, is always Elseworlds, and it is here too. I'm going to give some spoilers for a story that came out this week. But a lot of times, doing that act, making Superman an evil character, the heel turn for Superman within your story, was in fact a way of celebrating the excellence of Superman and what an important superhero he was to the DC Comics universe, and how terrible it would be without him, and how important Superman is. So, in fact, these stories where Superman himself does become evil actually ends up elevating the character because it ends up highlighting just what an amazing moralistic character he really is in the DC Comics universe. We're seeing it a lot more nowadays. Injustice obviously started a big trend where we're going to more and more evil Superman. Obviously, we got some interesting tweaks with the character from Brian Michael Bendis. Wouldn't say he was evil, but certainly trying to slight the character of Clark Kent. And nowadays, I don't even think it's in service of kind of showing you how great Superman himself is. I think mostly it is to try and tear at the fabric of what makes the character great. He simply was created to represent the best of really of what we can be and what Americans could be. That upsets a lot of people. Tom Taylor would be one of them. And I think he was probably very glad to write that Injustice series based off a video game. This week in Dark Knights of Steel, we finally get the confrontation between Batman and Superman in this Game of Thrones type universe. And wouldn't you know it, there is a heel turn. If you don't want spoilers for this comic book and you haven't read them, you're going to want to check out now, because I'm about to start showing you exactly what happens in this comic book and the latest heel turn for Superman in the DC Comics universe. Obviously, this is Elseworlds, but we are in the Omniverse. And what have they told us about the Omniverse? Everything happened, no matter what. So this is now, if you want to take DC at their word, this is a part of the character's history. Within Dark Knights of Steel, we do know that Jor-El actually fathered Bruce Wayne in this story. He ended up having a romance with Martha Wayne, and ended up siring young Bruce Wayne. And he found a shard of kryptonite, which was foretold. There's some lore being built in here by Tom Taylor. And I'm not saying Dark Knights of Steel is bad, by the way. It's perfectly okay. So Bruce decides it's time to tell Clark, his half-brother, about his real parentage and what's going on now that their father's dead. And he tells him Alfred was able to take some of his lead armor and encase the shard to stop its effect because it was kryptonite and it was affecting Bruce Wayne because he's half Kryptonian. Clark says, I don't understand. If it's from Krypton, why was it affecting you? I'm sorry, Cal. I should have told you as soon as I learned. Jor-El told me moments before he died. Told you what? I don't want to say anything. I didn't want you to think less of our father. I didn't want you to feel shame or for two, ... And it leads to this moment. Of course, the heel turn. Clark Kent takes the shard of kryptonite, decides he's going to use it like a jailhouse shank, and stabs Bruce right in the heart with it. Although this probably should have affected him, and he probably wouldn't have had enough power to do it. But that is neither here nor there. Perhaps the handle, he left some part of it encased in lead so it wouldn't affect him. But he ends up shoving it through his heart. He flies him straight in the air and then throws him down to Earth like a meteorite. Because, of course, in this world, Clark Kent is, of course, the ultimate bad guy. As a singular moment within DC Comics history and within this comic book, this could be considered a shocking moment that maybe doesn't reveal anything about Clark Kent or the greater DC Comics universe. But I do think, taken in totality with everything DC Comics has really done to undercut Clark Kent as Superman lately, and certainly Tom Taylor has an interest in Clark Kent no longer being identified as Superman and as being less than John Kent, since it's his series that's elevating John Kent up to the mantle of Superman. I don't know that that's going on here, but you could certainly, something to think about. You know what I'm saying? I do think if you take these things all into consideration and everything that they've done to Clark, it could mean something. I do feel like it's part of a greater pattern at DC Comics, and they really just don't like Clark Kent. He's too virtuous a character. His moral standards are too high. He loves everybody, When you think about Clark Kent, really, he has all of the power in the world, yet he doesn't really wield it for his own personal gain. He could be a billionaire, right? He's got more power than anybody. He could go and take it. With all of his wonderful gifts that he's been given, he could do a lot of things. He's also very smart. He could become some type of tech genius, and he could be all out for himself and become the richest man in the world, and nobody could stop him. But he's never done that because that's not who the character is, at the heart of it. And I do believe that bothers a lot of people within comic books because traditionally Clark Kent has stood for truth, justice, and the American way. Superman is as American as apple pie. And I do believe a lot of people don't like America so much anymore, even if they are Americans themselves. And people worldwide do see Superman as a character that represents, traditional American values that kind of go right in the face of a lot of people that are successful in comic books right now. So what do? You kind of got to tear at the fabric of the character. You got to take him down a peg here or there when you have the opportunity. And it's certainly been taking its toll. We've seen him renounce his U.S. citizenship. He's no longer fights for truth, justice, the American way. It's truth, justice, and a better tomorrow. His son told him he never did anything. He just accepted it and left the earth because he's not from around here. We've seen a lot of these types of things chipping away at the fabric of who Clark Kent is. And I do believe, perhaps it's not an enormous conspiracy at DC Comics, but I do believe it's by design. I definitely want to hear from you guys. What do you think? Am I being overly sensitive here? Like I said, taking as just a singular moment in comic book history, not a whole lot here, but I do think when you look at the totality, there are definitely people within DC Comics that do not like what Superman represents and would like to change it. If they can't change who the character is and how readers perceive him, they'll just kind of kill the character. And we've seen him also do some weird things where they're kind of giving important characters away, moving them over to other titles. We recently saw Lex Luthor, who would have been the traditional Clark Kent adversary as Superman, essentially get bested by John Kent in about 4 pages in chess. If you knew the history of Lex Luthor, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. We've seen Lex Luthor is kind of over in a Batman story now. Is he going to be running Batman Inc.? We know that's not the case, but they've been kind of moving Lex Luthor over. We know that there's a story coming up where Superman's abandoned Earth and Batman's going to, build a Batcave in the Fortress of Solitude, another location heavily associated with Superman, never been really associated with another character. And here they decide, after Clark Kent has flown Bruce Wayne into the air and thrown him down like a meteorite, to kind of recreate an event that a lot of people will know, essentially the Kents finding Superman. But in this story, they don't find Clark Kent. They end up finding Bruce Wayne. Shocking. They've given another origin and character set that's always been associated with Superman. Now they're giving him over to Batman. And the Kents end up finding Bruce Wayne, and apparently they're going to nurse him back to health. And perhaps he's going to learn a lesson or two from old Pa Kent, like Clark Kent did back in the day. And we can transition some of these things over to Batman. Now you say, but there's a problem. Batman's a billionaire, rich white guy. They probably don't like him either, but he's not a moralistic character. No one thinks that Batman represents America and American traditional values. Batman tortures people. Batman beats the shit out of people, to get information on bad guys. Batman will do some nasty things to win at the end of the day. Superman will not. That's the thing about Superman. He will never, ever compromise his principles in the name of justice. He will always find a way to do it anyway. And that's a problem, I think, for a lot of people. So that's why we're kind of seeing these things happen with Superman, wholesale changes to the character and really doing everything that they can. It feels like anything of value that's associated with Superman, they're trying to piece off and give it to another character. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw Lois Lane with Bruce Wayne sometime. Maybe she'll settle him down, or maybe she'll be with Hal Jordan, or maybe another character. Anything really associated with Superman, I think they're going to keep chipping away and see what they can pull off of him that's got some value to it, attach it to another character, and probably just kill the character off eventually, right? I don't think they see any value long-term in Clark Kent in the DC Comics universe. I think they're completely wrong, and fans will reject it, as they always have. But that ain't going to stop them from trying. So this, in my opinion, is the latest example. Dark Knights of Steel #5. Once again, we've got evil Superman. I think the trope is played out. Am I being too sensitive? I'm too sensitive from time to time, so I know that. But I definitely want to hear your guys' thoughts. Recently, I had a conversation with Aaron Sparrow and Jesse Blaze Snyder, and Jesse had some really impactful words, in my opinion, about what Superman means to people and why the character needs to be preserved as a role model for boys and girls all over the world. Definitely check this thing out. I expand on it a bit myself, but there are no words that I'm going to be able to say in this video here that are better than Jesse Blade Snyder. So you definitely want to check this out and hear what he says about Superman and why he's so important.